We thought it was just a bad meal, but it ended up being so much worse. And Christian ended up having our first major illness of our year-long adventure.
And after that, pain came back.
They handed him a cup and then they handed him a test tube. And I said, what? What is that for? And they were like, oh, well, you take the...
Maybe TMI.
I don't know, because they need to know. They were like, well, you just take the cup and the test tube. And I said, you're joking.
Won't go into detail on how I gave.
I'm gonna put some trigger warnings in here.
Maybe we might post on Patreon.
In this video, we are gonna talk about how we think he got sick, how we chose which hospital to go to, getting the test results and that entire process, and then what we would do differently and what we would recommend or suggest if you want to be prepared for, hopefully not, but a situation similar to this one. And just as a disclaimer, this specific video is not going to be about travel insurance, but we do use Safety Wing. And so in another video, we're going to talk about the cost of this entire experience, as well as how that works using travelers' health insurance. So if you want to know more about that, put your comments and questions in the comments below. That way I can make sure we answer them in that video.
So basically, like I said, like on a Wednesday, I started feeling not too good. Thinking it was just, very big stomach ache, hard stomach ache. I just wasn't feeling well. So Rachel had plans that night and I just decided to stay in and try to manage this with just resting. The next day got way worse. I had probably the worst stomach cramps I've ever had experienced.
And as a disclaimer, because this is a public space, you can use your imagination for all the other symptoms that go along with a stomach ache. Because we're not listing them, we're not discussing them, but y'all know what we're talking about. So just so we're all in the same mind frame here.
It wasn't coming out both ends, but it was coming out one end.
And that's all we're gonna say about it.
And then, but besides that, the stomach cramps were crazy bad. It was really bad. They were just off and on, just crazy pain of just something I've never felt before. And I've had bad stomach aches before. I even got traveler's diarrhea in Ghana, but this one was a lot worse pain and just something I've never had before. And I could usually handle pain, but this one was just totally different. And I was like, I knew something's up. And so in my pain, I told my wife, I think we need to probably go see somebody. I think I may need to go to the hospital.
So how long was it from when the pain started to when you were like, 911, it's time to go?
I think I went through a night of the pain, which was just horrible.
I feel bad. I slept immediately through all of it. I woke up and he was like,
So slept through the night of the pain, then we woke up and I was just like, I think it's time. I think we need to go to the hospital. And I was like, hey, I just need you to take care of it and find one.
The next morning, it's probably around like 10, I'd say 10 in the morning.
Yeah.
It's probably around 10 in the morning. So it's not crazy early or anything. Basically, I'm like, okay, you just get yourself dressed as best as possible and ready. And I'm gonna figure out where we're gonna go and then we'll leave, catch a taxi and get there. So I had to figure out how to figure this out, which was step one. So I'm a part of a expat digital nomad WhatsApp group here in Tirana, which has been lovely. It is a very helpful group of people. So I messaged them like, hey, do y'all have any recommendations of doctors? Have you had to go to urgent care? And someone mentioned that there are, I guess, different types of hospitals. So there's like the Italian hospitals and the American, that's what they're called, the Italian hospital, the American hospital, the German hospital. And they all function the same as far as if there's an urgent care, you can show up and take care of what needs to be taken care of. So mind you, he's in pain at that moment. So I'm trying to move as quickly as possible. When I hear that, my first thought is, okay, then I'll look up the American hospital because that is the only frame of reference I have. So I type in American hospital and there's American hospital 1, 2, 3. Said, okay, perfect. That's some options. I'm on Google Maps. I'm looking at the number of reviews they have, how many stars, and a handful of pictures. American Hospital 3 is the biggest, the second closest, with the most number of reviews. I said, we're going to American Hospital number 3. He said, I don't care. I need to be seen now. That was one thing that was weird for me, is picking medical care exclusively based off of Google reviews. I didn't think that was where we were gonna be. I also saw American Hospital 3. I forgot, there's another thing I did. I looked up the American Embassy in Albania. I looked up their website and I said, they must have something. And it said medical care and I clicked on it. There were a lot of dentists, which wasn't helpful right now. And then it lists the hospitals. It said, okay, if the American embassy is saying there's an American hospital and the American hospital's close, then that's where we're going to go.
Yeah, because basically in Texas where we live, you kind of just have the ones to go to. You go to Baylor or Texas Presbyterian.
If you're a hospital person, you go to the 24-hour urgent care around the corner,
person, yes.
or you go to the CVS Minute Clinic, which was my personal favorite.
But we didn't have that option here in Albania. So best thing to do is just go to the hospital. We had insurance, so let's use it.
So all of this happened in Tirana, Albania, which will just give you like a frame of reference if you've ever been to Albania or if you know anything about it. That's where we were when this happened. I'm sure our experience might have been different if we were in a different part of Eastern Europe or a different part of Western Europe, but this was just our experience in Albania. I think that's all the disclaimers I have. So let's get started. So we find the hospital, or I find the hospital in Google Maps. He's dressed, he's upright as much as he needs to be. It's not, call an ambulance pain, but it's just, we're trying to move as fast as possible. Of course, this isn't a part of the illness. So we are on a 4th floor walk-up, which is not ideal, no elevator, but we got him down 4 flights of stairs. We walked over to where we normally catch the taxis, and they wait in kind of a line. This is just maybe it's a tip, maybe it's not, but they have the parking spots for taxis. You're supposed to go in order, first come, first serve. We look in the first taxi, man's fully asleep.
Man, just passed out.
So we go to the second taxi, no one was really there, so we go to the third one. We're like, hey, can you take us to the hospital? He said, ask the guy up front. I'm like, he's sleeping. He honks his horn. I'm like, cool, but he didn't wake up. So we just kind of knock on the window. And he said, yeah, get on it. Anyway, that was a tangent. So we get to the hospital, drive, there's the red signs that you can assume says urgent. We drive back there, drops us off, pays, leaves. And of course, going to the hospital in a taxi, never ideal, but we got it done. He sits down and I check in to the urgent care, and unlike American hospitals, they don't start off the back with here's a clipboard and here's a pen, fill out the paper. You kind of tell them what's going on, and they look around, they find someone, they point at you, and then you follow them into a room. No one knows who you are, no one knows your name, no one knows why you're here. You're just whisked away. And they put us in kind of one of the, not a private room, but room with a couple of beds, 3 beds. And we sit in there until I don't remember if the nurse came in first or the doctor.
Nurse came in first.
Okay.
Basically, from what I remember, because guys, I was in pain. I get in there, I lay down on the bed. The nurse tries to take my blood pressure and
your pulse ox?
Pulse ox. And the machine he uses doesn't read right. It goes off, the blood pressure goes 161 over 198.
We both said that can't be right.
That can't be right. I check my blood pressure regularly, so I was like, that's not right. He's like, yeah, this machine just doesn't work. And I was like,
cool, throw it away.
Yeah, but maybe this machine shouldn't be here anymore. So that was your first, instance of this hospital. But then he did my blood pressure, came out normal.
He did it manually,
yeah,
so stethoscope and a hand pump.
So I did that, told him what was going on, and he said the doctor would be right with us. Doctor comes in, try my best to tell her. I'm not the best at explaining my illness. It's always been a problem with me. But so tell her what's going on. We all basically tell her.
I interject as needed, which is the whole time. But their main thing was, have you eaten anything? Which for us, we eat the same thing at the same restaurants. We just have eaten everything together, at least in the past couple of weeks. I mean, the few times we haven't, like I said, are few. So, we're thinking we've eaten everything together. We've gone to the same places. I'm not sick. And that's what we tell her. We tell him what his symptoms are. And she's like, I think initially she says that they'll do a blood test had we already
a full panel?
Have we already gotten to the IV and everything or no?
No, she said she's gonna do a full panel, but so we're gonna do blood test, blood work. Because I had pain in my stomach, she said she wanted to do a ultrasound, and then she was going to do IV still, just because I was shooting
dehydrated.
Out one end, so
he was low on fluids,
so I had to get an IV at least do that. So they do that. Shout out to the nurse for taking my blood. He did that really good. And then he got the IV in me. And then they gave me some pain medicine. Didn't work too well. I was still
And for clarification, they did not give him pain medicine. They gave him medicine to stop to stop muscle cramps. Because he was telling them that his pain was being caused from stomach cramps or whatever it were, they gave him anti-cramping medication to help with the pain. They did not give him pain medication.
She knows.
They did not give him any painkillers, ever.
And so then after that, we sat there for a while, kind of let the IV go, let the muscle cramp medicine work. And then they came and got me to do the ultrasound. We go walk. They did try to put me in a wheelchair. Wheelchair was so small compared to me. And I was like,
it looks small to me.
Then they got nurses like, hey, can you just walk? And I was like, yeah, I can walk. So we go to the ultrasound. They do an ultrasound.
I'm sorry, the ultrasound everyone's just so nonchalant. And it's also a lot, and this is me, maybe because I was on an observer, I could see from the outside, he was in pain, so he was busy. But it's very different from the States where the people that are doing these individual jobs, and it's not that necessarily they have different training, but they're allowed to tell you more information. So I feel like traditionally when you get an ultrasound, they typically can't tell you anything about the ultrasound. They can not the procedure, they can do the test, print out the photos and give it to the doctor, and then you wait for the response. But the ultrasound was set up with a woman in an office. She had a desk and a computer, and then in front of her desk was a bed and then the machine. And so you can talk about how it went, but
I mean, it was cold. She was rough, but I mean, you gotta get in there. And so yeah, she did it. Everything was clear, nothing extreme, so it was good. So nothing to report on the ultrasound. We went back to the room, and doctor came in. She said that we needed to probably do more looking at the tests. We need to bring the infectionist doctor in. We had to wait for the infectionist doctor to come in,
which took forever, at least an hour and a half, I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, I was in pain the whole time. So, but they did bring more cramp medicine, or pain medicine, which is cramp medicine. So did his job to effect. So when the infectious doctor came in, she basically said that she assumed we all assumed it was just a really bad stomach bug. But if we wanted to do a more in-depth to see what it was, bacteria-wise or viral, we needed to do they needed to have a stool sample.
I was ready to leave right then. I was like, you're not getting that from me. But anyway, because everyone thought it was a viral infection, it was like, well, if it's a virus, there's nothing we can give you. If we do this test and it ends up being a bacteria, then we can give you antibiotics. But I mean, they said that. They said, listen, I'm not even going to, because mind you, in America, okay, they have facilities, they have the equipment, they have things set up. So if you need this sample, the collection process is much more streamlined. Tell them what they gave you.
Basically, I didn't know what they were going to do. When they asked for a stool sample,
He thought they were going to collect it.
When I'm sick, I like to know what I really have. So I wanted to give the stool sample. I wanted to get at least an exact diagnosis. I wanted to know if it was viral or bacteria. So I said yes. Said yes to the quick test, which was cost a little bit more, but I wanted that information.
The quick test is the results come sooner. Then there was a test that was half the price, and the results take longer, but the test is the same. They test the same sample. So it's just pay more and get it in a few hours, or pay less and get it in a few days.
And we'll get to that.
Don't even mention it now. Pay more and get in a few hours, or pay less and get in a few days.
So I decided to go with that one, to get in a few hours. But didn't know what doing a stool sample entailed. I think it was going to be easy peasy. I've done samples before where, I did a urine sample. But when they come in, they say,
I'm already stressed out.
Give me a cup. And I said, okay, how do I do this?
Not even that, y'all. Because I feel like and maybe this is because I'm the traumatized one. They handed him a cup, and then they handed him a test tube. And I said, what? What is that for? And they were like, oh, well, you take the...
Maybe TMI.
I don't know, because they need to know. They were like, well, you just take the cup and the test tube. And I said, you're joking.
Won't go into detail on how I gave.
I'm going to put some trigger warnings in here.
Maybe we might post on Patreon or what.
That's a good plug. No, make that plug.
Maybe probably post on Patreon if you want the details of how I did it. But I gave them a stool sample. Very traumatizing. Didn't think that would be something I would say
on the internet
from a hospital. So we gave the sample. And basically at that point, we gave the sample. They gave my wife some prescriptions. She kind of took it over there, and then we left.
Yeah, so that was pretty much the end of the hospital visit. You pay and leave. And so from there, my next adventure was get him home and get the medications. And so as far as food, they said plain rice, bananas, dry bread, and dairy, which was insane. I'm not giving him dairy, but those are the 3 things that he could eat. She said like white cheeses and yogurt.
At that time, I didn't want to eat anything anyway, so it wasn't like I cared.
Yeah, and so I didn't have to worry about getting food. Oh, chicken broth. That was the other one. I didn't have to worry about getting him food, but I'm like, okay, now I need to take this prescription and get his medication. So I brought him back here. He walked up 4 flights of stairs. Yeah, he came up and I walked over to our favorite pharmacy. There's pharmacies literally everywhere, but our favorite one is on the corner from where we're staying. And we had been in there a few times, and me with this hair, I'm recognizable. So they remembered me every single time. So we come back and obviously I'm by myself and they're like, where's your husband? I said, it's not looking great, guys. It's not looking great. I got this paper. I need these medications. And so, well, she's walking me through kind of what's written on there because this prescription was written in Albanian. So I had no idea what was on there, what I needed, anything. But basically they gave him anti-diarrhea, medication for the cramps, probiotics.
You're looking at me. She's looking at me. She knows.
I know. 1, 2, 3, and electrolyte fluid. So we have liquid IV. They basically just gave him a different pack of liquid IV. It's the same thing. So those are the 4 things they gave, which I thought was interesting from my perspective because none of those are prescription medications. And I feel like a lot of times in the States, doctors don't write prescriptions for over-the-counter medications, except for if you are trying to get them through the pharmacy in order to get them like cheaper because your insurance will cover prescriptions. But here, I mean, these are just regular medications. It's like I said, probiotic, electrolytes, anti-cramping, and the other gross one.
Yeah,
so
just trying to fight the symptoms.
Yes. And so that was what they were doing, is fighting the symptoms because it's probably a virus and we don't want to agitate it. So I come back, I walk up 4 flights of stairs and start dispensing my horde of medications prescribed to him by the doctor. The sun sets on day 2 of illness and we are now into day 3. How did day 3 go?
I would say day 2's night, probably the worst night. One of the worst nights of my life. It was that pain. And I thought, this is where it kind of confused me, is going to the hospital thinking they would help eliminate the pain. And I had one of the worst nights of pain in my life after that. Crazy pain. Just stomach cramps got even worse. It was just bad pain. It was just off and on. And then when the sun came up, I felt good. I actually felt good.
That's when I woke up.
I felt good. I was like, I had one like last heave of pain, and then woke up. Then after that, I felt better. I felt like, okay, maybe it's calming down. And you had heard from a friend that this was something that we thought was going around Albania, like a stomach bug. She had said that your friend said that, you know, the first and second day are bad. Second day's the worst, which that was. And then the third day, they feel a lot better. So I was thinking, okay, I'm getting better.
And I'd also heard the same thing from the pharmacist, like there were 3 ladies there and 2 of them had family that had all just gotten over the same virus with the same symptoms. And they said the same thing about day 2. And so I told him about that when I got back, because as far as we know, that is what he probably had. And they were also saying it was mad contagious. Didn't know what to do about that information, but you know, that was what they were saying about it. So it fit the plot that day 1 was bad, day 2 was bad. Okay, we're on the mend on day 3.
Day 3, I was feeling a little bit better. I was still having stomach cramps, but they weren't as bad. They were a little bit manageable. So I felt like I was getting better. They weren't happening as much. And I was able to get up out of bed, come sit on the couch, and just kind of just chill where it wasn't too bad. I was able to eat a few things like bananas and toast.
Yeah, really. I think breakfast was dry toast and bananas. And then I had made him some plain rice a couple of times.
Yeah, I was thinking this was, at this point, okay, maybe it's calming down. I didn't know where I was at. So yes, I was able to sit on the couch thinking I was about to be able to get over this bug that was going around Albania.
The sun sets on day 3, and now we are into day 4.
So day 4, pain. There's not much pain. Thinking, okay, we're doing good. I had 2 egg tacos and banana, and after that, pain came back. And it came back in full force to where I was having cramps that did not go away, and I was having a burning pain sensation in my abdomen that would not go away. And at first it was about maybe a 5-6 pain, and then it just kept increasing. and not knowing what was going on. I took all the pills that day, and it was bad. And I was like, okay, something's going on for me to now have more pain. And I was like, I'm not getting over this. At that moment, we were thinking maybe it's just because I did make the mistake of not hydrating as much the day before. So we were thinking maybe it's just I wasn't drinking water. And when I was drinking water, I wasn't feeling good when I was drinking the water. So I wasn't really drinking water. But then I was trying to drink water that day on day 4, and nothing was changing. So I was like, okay, it's not just dehydration. And I had to make the decision. And we had not heard back from the doctor or the hospital about the test results too. So, because day 3, when I was feeling good, I'm thinking, it was viral. It was one of those bugs. There was no need to know what the test results were. Day 4, when I got back to Japan, I was like, okay, well, you might need to know what those test results were. So I reached out. I told my wife, I said, hey, maybe reach out to the hospital to see if they have the test results.
So he asked me to get the test results. I call American Hospital hotline. They transfer me to 3. I'm on the phone with them, and they said, you need to send a WhatsApp message with the patient's name to this number to get the results. I said, okay, cool. I do that, and no response. But between when I did that and when he's saying we need to go back to the hospital, it wasn't really long enough for me to call back. I think it was less than an hour. So that system doesn't really work. But I can say, if we're just going into the future, 24 hours later, they sent me his blood work results back, which I had already had. So that's not an efficient way to get the test results, but that was the way that they told me to go.
Since we didn't get the test results and I was in incredible pain, I had to make a decision. And again, they hated to do it. I didn't hate to do it, but I was just, babe, we got to go back to the hospital. I had to go to the hospital. This pain is just not going away, and we need to know what's going on. Then I had to make a decision. Do we go back to the same hospital or a different hospital? And I was basically said, I gave the decision to her.
And for me, I said, well, the same hospital, they have the records from before. They don't need to be transferred. They've seen you. Maybe one of the doctors or nurses is there. So let's go back there. Down 4 flights of stairs, into a taxi, back to the hospital. At this point, he got sick on a Wednesday. The first hospital visit was on a Thursday. This one was on a Sunday, and it was nighttime. Also, there was a lunar eclipse going on. Very interesting day. I just thought that was important in case y'all wanted to look up a little. Here's a picture of the moon if you wanted to see it. So, all right, I guess you can talk about, how did that appointment go?
I'll keep in mind, I felt way worse because my body was fatigued. Going to the hospital or getting down those flights of stairs and then trying to look for a taxi, almost fell to the ground. I was so tired. So
we walk down the 4 flights of stairs, go to the taxi stand, no taxi to be found. And there's multiple ways to get a taxi. You can either message one on WhatsApp and they'll come to you, or you can hail one. So we're trying to wave taxis down, but the ones that we're waving at either have someone in them or they're on their way to pick someone up from dispatch. And so no one wants to come and get us. So it takes us a bit. He's about to pass out in the street. So I'm like, oh, yeah, we got to move fast. I got to get him into a vehicle. So we get him in the car, get to the hospital, and the same initial steps, check him in. This time they bring him back to a different room, and we're in there for a hot minute and no one's come in. So I go back to the front and I was like, yeah, he's still in a bunch of pain. So is someone coming? And she was like, oh yeah, that's the doctor right there. I said, perfect. And so I just stand there and look at him until we start moving. So I follow her back and she was like, has the nurse come in there? I said, no one's come in there. And then the nurse comes in, same issue with the blood pressure machine. Not sure why they're using them if they say they don't work. Yeah. Except for she put the cuff on and then walked away, and then the cuff popped off and landed on the floor. So that was a little bit worse than the first one, but yeah, it was an experience. But now that we're back at the hospital, we can finally get the results of the test that we paid for expedited answer on, because it's now been Thursday, Friday. It's now been 3 days, which is pretty much how long it would have been for the cheaper test. So
yep, the results came in. Turns out I had salmonella. Couldn't believe it when she said it. And never in my knowledge had I known that I had salmonella before. I probably have had it before, just didn't know, but to hear it, I was like, oh my gosh. There was a lot of mixed emotions, because 1, why was I told earlier? 2, okay, we're here now. Let's fix it then. Let's get things done. And so basically, because a lot of the not emotions, but a lot of it, the doctors were kind of saying it was our fault for not coming back to the hospital the next day. when the hospital should have found a way to contact us to let us know that was what happened. So,
and he says found a way. They had our number. They asked how you want to be contacted. They suggested WhatsApp and a phone number. I said perfect, gave them his number. And then they printed off the records, and I am holding the records, and I confirmed the typed phone number, so it's not like it's a handwriting issue. So I know they have the correct number. They have the correct number. I put United States. Personally, I think that they were trying to put that number with an Albanian country code.
Which doesn't make sense. We look American.
And they also scanned his passport. And I also wrote that it was an American number. And I guess they never tried another one. I don't know why the number didn't work, why they didn't call. But because it wasn't like we needed to wait till the next day to get the results. The results were supposed to be in a couple of hours.
Yeah. So from my point of view, it was 50-50. But because they should have reached out, should have found a way to get to us. We should have reached back out to them to get our results too as well. So both accounts should have done better. But so at that point, doesn't matter. We now know it has salmonella. What do we do now about it? So they did give me fluids. They gave me an IV. I still had pain. I had pain in my stomach. Still same pain, cramps, burning sensation. They thought maybe we should give you a ultrasound.
So the doctor that was in the ER at the time is the one that gave the results. However, the infectionist was not she was not working on Sunday. So the doctor that we had would kind of communicate with her, phone call, message, and the like. So she was kind of guiding his treatment, but she wasn't there at the time. So she was the one that recommended the ultrasound, and it was either come back on Monday and get a regularly priced ultrasound, or if you want it now, we can call up the ultrasound tech and she can drive here and you will pay for that. And we'll talk about all of the expenses in the follow-up video. But we kind of had to sit and decide what to do. And I think a big part of the decision factor, at least for us, was at this point we've complained, but we've had complaints, because I would talk to the front desk people and he would talk to the providers, but we've both been simultaneously saying how much pain he was in. And it felt like no one was doing anything about it. We told them that the medication they gave the first visit, didn't do anything. They're giving the same medication again, and it's still not doing anything. And so eventually, because one of the guys the only guy actually at the front desk, it was mainly women and then him. When I went up there, he was sort of explaining to me that he's like, here in Albania, we really just don't prescribe pain medications just about ever. And then as I look them up, I see that there's also opioids are pretty hard to get here. Even in hospitals and any medical setting, they're just not a thing. So as far as pain treatment and pain care, it's very minimal from what we understood and from what we experienced. When we were talking about the ultrasound, I'm like, is there anything that they're gonna see on the ultrasound that you can then treat them differently for the pain? And you would give them pain med? They're like, no. So. Yeah,
it was one of those where, will there be a difference from doing it today, that night, or tomorrow? They said no. So it came to a point where it's just, okay, we'll wait till tomorrow and now I know what it is, and they were going to prescribe the antibiotics now, and the more different prescriptions. Maybe I don't,
I know.
Oh, well, okay. They were at that point. We had to make a decision between should I do it today? At that point we had to decide. Did it matter to do the ultrasound that night or to wait and do it in the morning? And to know that there would be no difference either way, so we decided to just do it in the morning. And now that we knew there was I had salmonella, they would just prescribe me antibiotics and other things, and she knows what those are.
They basically gave him the exact same prescription as before. Electrolytes, anti-cramping. So it was basically the same medications. They added the antibiotics 2 times a day, 5 days. They took out the antidiarrheal because I learned, didn't take it out because of me, but I also learned that you're not supposed to take those when you have salmonella because it doesn't help you get the virus out. But they still had probiotic, they still had electrolyte, they still had what they called stomach protection, which I think is like an antacid, and then the anti-cramping.
It was basically like a Nexium, that's what it is.
Yes. So once again, mainly over-the-counter stuff with the antibiotics. And that is pretty much the journey of, finding out he was sick to going to the hospital. And at this point, it's been 2 visits, 4 days. It's Sunday, and we've come home, and that's the last of our interaction with the Albania medical care. But we kind of wanted to go over some of the things that we would either do differently or we would recommend to others if they are in this situation. And I think this first one, which you can talk more about, might be specific to Albania, but it is pretty much the fact that as far as pain management, you're kind of on your own.
I think when we started this journey, the year-long travel, I knew there were certain medicines that we need to bring, and the main one was Advil. So I knew that's something we would need for sure, and thankfully I had brought a thing of it as well, as we had, when friends came and visited, they brought us some more. So we had Advil, we had liquid IV, had Imodium, but you can't take that, so glad we didn't do that. And that's what we had medicine-wise. When we got back from the hospital, I ended up taking some Advil and some heartburn medication when we got here, which helped with the pain so much. It basically took the pain away that night for me. And I'm grateful that we had those things, because when we started this year-long travel, those are some of the things that I did bring along with us packing-wise. That brought a capsule. I brought a thing of Advils and a thing of antacid, heartburn medicine. And I did bring Imodium, but you can't take that when you have salmonella. So I'm glad I did not take that prematurely, and grateful that we had those things.
And I think that's one of the main, it's a little bit of both of what we do differently / a recommendation is the main recommendation would be to make sure you pack the medications that you think you'll need, and especially ones that you think you might have a harder time getting, which would be like the pain medications, having the electrolytes and the Pepto and the Imodium. One thing that we've had on a majority of our international trips is traveler's diarrhea medication, which I'm pretty sure is just some type of antibiotic. And so the second part of this is what we do differently is this time, if it happened again, I think that we would both be more proactive to using all of the medications that we have. So we have, I think, a couple of boxes of different types of antibiotics. And I think if this happened again where it was like 2 days of symptoms, we would probably just go ahead and take the round of antibiotics, because either it does nothing or it does everything.
So going on with the fact that we had the Advil and we had the heartburn medicine, which greatly helped. Some things that I would do differently with the packing of medicine, I would definitely try to have a Pepto-Bismol tablet. I think if I had that, that would definitely have been the best thing to use in the salmonella case, because it basically an antacid that works with stomach pain and stomach issues. Again, wouldn't take the Imodium, but I would definitely have that if you have it. Have the liquid IV so you can have the electrolytes, and just drink plenty of water. And then, I was lucky. I had my wife with me that I could go to the pharmacy and get what we needed. Most of the research I did with salmonella, you could basically after 5 to 7 days, 3 to 7 days, you gotta just let it play itself out. And that's what we really had to do, is as long as you fight the symptoms. But in severe cases, you do have to get antibiotics, and you do have to go get those from a pharmacy or from a doctor. So, but definitely when you, in those situations, I wish I would have had more of a, I hate to say it, but more of an American antacids like Pepto-Bismol or Tums. So I thought maybe that could help me first run. And then take some probiotics and when you're traveling, even when you start or while you're traveling as well. Another thing I wish we would have done differently is following up. I wish we would have followed up with the doctor, especially with those results, especially since we paid that money for those results. We should have got them that night, and we should have known that night of what happened. So, like I said, it was a 50-50, their fault, our fault, but we should have been more proactive and gotten those results. If it came that soon, or 1 or 2 hours, we should have just stayed at the hospital and waited to get them there, and maybe that would have put them to gear getting it to us. But getting those results right then and there probably would have made a difference in how long my pain would have lasted or how long I was sick for.
So some other things that I would also recommend is, one, if you are traveling, some people do it where they just don't have any data on their phone, and that's great until you're in an emergency. I do recommend having some sort of data, some sort of either your home plan that is working internationally or a foreign eSIM. We like using Olafly. It is unlimited. It is easy to use. So if you want to make sure that you're always covered, check out Olafly. That link will be below. And the other thing I would do is probably I'm gonna start researching medical providers or hospitals in the country that we're going to and maybe around the hotel or Airbnb we're staying in. If I had known, staying at this Airbnb, if anything happens, here's where we can go, and I've looked it up in advance, I might have noticed that, because I've looked since then, the German hospital in this area actually looks incredibly nice. I was like, if I had seen this earlier, if I had known what the differences were between these, and if I was even allowed to go to other hospitals, I might have chosen to go to this hospital. I haven't even looked at the Italian hospitals yet, But I think moving forward, we're going to kind of have an idea of if something goes wrong, here's where we're going to go, or having even like a telehealth provider on standby that we can reach out to. So having more of a plan in advance of what to do. The final thing is kind of with the same research, but to know what the medical culture is in the area that we're going to. So in Albania, they don't like to prescribe pain meds. And if we knew that, then we would know, okay, if we want pain control, we need to handle that ourselves.
Yeah.
And by knowing that, maybe you could have not been in pain for so long. So looking up those things and just kind of making an ongoing list of this different information.
So I just want to acknowledge that we did go to the hospital twice, and both times the hospital was clean to a hospital standards. The nurses, doctors, the front desk were all competent. They knew what they were doing. No knock to this. You just have to know that when you're traveling abroad, it's going to be different. It's a different scenario, different from what you're used to if you've been to a hospital in America. And to me, it was different. But I was in pain. You know, I had to put trust that the doctors, the front desk, the hospital, and my wife are going to do the best to make me feel better and help with my pain and my situation. It was a scary experience. And no one wants to go to the hospital, but I knew with the pain I had that I had to go. And along with that, we got to get the results that I needed and to know how to attack for me to feel better. I just wish we were just a little bit more prepared, and maybe we could have lessen the trip by 1 or 0.
So in a future video, we'll go into more of the expenses, how much everything costs, as well as the process for submitting these types of claims to Safety Wing, and you know, how effective really is traveler's insurance. I know a lot of people have different views on it, some good, some bad. So we're gonna show you exactly what it looked like and how everything works with the hospitals abroad and how much Safety Wing costs every month. If you have a crazy sick while traveling story that you don't mind sharing, want to share, we'd love to hear it. If you have any tips, put them in the comment below. We may or may not go deeper into the story on Patreon, should y'all ask very nicely and should Christian be feeling very kind. So direct those towards him and I'll see what I can do there. Big shout out to our patrons. They voted for this week's video. So this was actually tied for #1. We'll probably make the second tie soon, but if you want to have input on which videos we make on this channel, head on over to the Patreon, become a patron. You can join for as little as $1.
Yeah, just join.
If you want a postcard, a handwritten postcard from me, you can do that too. Those are on there as well. We have options for everybody. So thank you so much to the patrons, and thank you so much for watching this video. That is all for this one. We'll see you next time. Bye.